I'd like to remind you that if you can, to either turn off your phones or silence your ringers so we don't get disturbed. We're going to have at least one guest speaker tonight who I'll introduce in just a little while. But for now, to start off, I'll ask for the Secretary's report.
Let's see if this works. What do you call it?
604.
604. This on?
Just hit the thumb switch.
That's on. Whoa. Is it easier to go there?
Speed Thunderbirds one round.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. All right, for our Secretary's report, I shared the minutes from last week via email to our board. Thank you very much to Melissa for taking notes in my absence last week. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I received a couple minor edits from Melissa today. I've incorporated those. Are there any other corrections to the minutes? All right, is there a motion to approve minutes?
Not working a second. Sorry. Muffled.
The audio is not clear? All right,
Or maybe the tries a little bit further back.
better?
Maybe.
I think your voice is too high.
Is it too loud?
My voice is too high.
Can you talk lower? Can you go down like that?
Good talk. All right, I saw that was Melissa and then Ernie. The minutes from last week are approved. I'll pass it over to Zach for our Secretary's report. Good luck.
Let's see. Is this good? Yeah. Okay. So we got 125 memberships collected this week and $119 collected. And I'd just like to say, if this is your first meeting and you're not a member, please come see me after the meeting so we can get you signed up.
What?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, if this is your first meeting, come see me after, please.
What'd you say you're up to 190?
119.
Thank you.
Would anyone want to approve these numbers? Make a motion.
Motion approve. Second.
All in favor? Yeah.
One thing I forgot to mention is that during the time for comments from the residents, I'd appreciate if you would come down to the podium if you're able. That way a lot of people can hear you much better. We have a special guest speaking tonight. I'd like to introduce Kevin Porter, Vice President of Loan Originations, Rock USA Capital. If you don't know, Rock USA is the company or the group organization that provided us with our pre-development loan. So if it wasn't for them, we would not even be meeting tonight. So they've already helped us out a great deal. Now we're going to listen to his presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time and thank you for coming out. My boss may be joining as well on Zoom. I know he has the link. He might just be a couple minutes behind. We're a little early here, which is good, so congratulations on that. As was mentioned, I work for Rock USA Capital, which is the lending arm of Rock USA. We're a national organization based in Concord, New Hampshire, and this is all we do all day, every day. Work with homeowners like yourselves to buy and operate their community. A little taller, as resident-owned corporations. So maybe what I'll do, I'll give a little bit of a history on Rock USA, talk about what we've done so far. We mentioned the pre-development loan, and then talk about kind of next steps and how that may play out. But please interrupt me at any point. Questions and conversations are always better than me just being here talking at you. So Rock USA was launched in 2008. It spun off of work that had been going on in New Hampshire since the 1980s. The New Hampshire Community Loan Fund kind of started this model to convert mobile home parks to resident ownership. 1984 up in Meriden, New Hampshire was the first one. There are now about 150 in New Hampshire because the work has been going on for so long. Our founding president, his name is Paul Bradley. He worked for the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund, and people started calling up from Minnesota and Massachusetts and all over. So with that, they put together some funding and some staff and launched Rock USA in 2008. So there are now about 330 rocks around the country in our network, mostly in the Pacific Northwest, Midwest, and here in New England. I work for Rock USA Capital, which is a nonprofit lender, our financing arm of Rock USA, and just like the parent organization, this is all we lend to. So we don't finance apartment buildings or offices. All we do all day is work with groups like yourselves. Maybe just a little bit more on Rock USA before I talk about our specific lending programs. So we are a national organization, a national nonprofit governed by a board of directors, just like you have a board of directors here to represent the work we do. And 3 of our board members are resident leaders like yourselves from around the country. So 1 from the West Coast, 1 from sort of the middle part of the country, and 1 from New England. And that's one way we are held accountable and make sure we're doing what we need to do and really meeting the needs of the people we serve. I mean, at the end of the day, we are working for you. So if you're enjoying this work, if and when you're able to close on the acquisition, certainly encourage you to get involved with Rock USA. And that entity is called Rock Association. That's sort of the way that residents have a voice and have a say in what goes on at Rock USA. So certainly encourage you to get involved with that. So I'm often the first person from Rock USA to go out and meet with residents. The way Rock USA works, we have a national network of affiliate partners, such as CDI. There are about 9 other organizations around the country. So people sometimes think that Rock USA is just the lender, but there's really a whole lot more to it than that. All sorts of resources for training and education, both in person and online. Our online training system is called Rocket. Resident-owned communities, knowledge and education training, is that right? So again, certainly encourage you to do your research and take advantage of all those resources that are out there. You've probably already spoken to some resident leaders, maybe here in Maine or New Hampshire. It's one nice thing about New England, there are so many resident-owned communities. Being able to connect with other residents and leaders and learn about best practices and that sort of thing is really super, super helpful. So definitely encourage that. Any other questions about Rock USA before I talk about kind of the specifics here? Okay.
Audio okay for people? Yes. Okay. In the back, yeah, I see that. Nice. Awesome.
Try and raise them. Oh, there we go. I don't have to bend my knees somewhere. Oh. Where were you 5 minutes ago? Okay. So, as was mentioned, we have done what we call a pre-development loan to Blueberry Fields Cooperative so far, and there are a few purposes of that. One is to fund the earnest money deposit. So very often with a real estate contract, you need to put some money down as a good faith deposit. So we did that maybe a month and a half ago, I think it was. And then also money for due diligence. So I know the appraiser has been out here. I know they were looking at this, the engineer was out here looking at the septic systems yesterday, which is very, very important. We spend a whole lot of time looking at water lines and septic tanks and all that. So you as the owners and whoever your eventual permanent lender is, everybody really needs to understand what's going on underground, and nobody more than you. I mean, you're the ones that are going to own it and have to deal with that. So as I understand it, things look decent and pretty good, but really understanding the nuts and bolts is just so important. So that's really key to our pre-development loan, getting all that investigative work, all that due diligence done so you know what you're buying. Then there's other costs such as legal and survey and all the other stuff that is required for a commercial real estate purchase. And then ideally, that leads to acquisition financing. And if for some reason the purchase does not move forward, there's no personal liability. Basically, we eat the loan and we get our earnest money deposit back, and everyone goes on their way. And but hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully that you get to a purchase here. So maybe I'll talk about the various sources of financing. And I did include for the board members, I brought some packages. I included what we call a term sheet. So over the next few weeks, as you as a board and a membership are looking at your options for acquisition permanent financing, I included what Rock USA Capital would be able to offer. For a purchase of this size, this is a fairly large community here, generally a little bit too big than Rock USA Capital could do on our own. So typically in New England, how we have worked with these larger communities is to partner with a local bank or a regional bank that would do a first mortgage, and we would provide a second mortgage. And in this case, I think what we put in our term sheet is $6 million. I also included a term sheet that TD Bank had sent out. And again, as you get to that point where you're reviewing your different financing options, really encourage you to take your time and understand the nuances of all the different lenders. For example, TD Bank, their origination fee tends to be pretty low, pretty competitive at 25 basis points, so basically 0.25% of the loan amount, which is pretty good as far as commercial loans go. One other nuance there, typically the way we work with TD Bank is that what we call the servicing fees. So in order to cover the work that CDI does and Rock USA Capital does to manage the loans, that is built into the interest rate that TD Bank quoted, which I think was 6.31%. So if you're comparing that to another lender, make sure that you understand that you don't need a line item budget there. If you come to an agreement with CDI in terms of that covers what's needed, that you're really comparing apples to apples there. So you're certainly not obligated to get your acquisition financing from Rock USA Capital. Like I said, we provided a term sheet, what we can offer. If we're most competitive, that's great. We'd love to work with you. If somebody else can be more competitive and you get a better deal, more power to you. We always want what's best for you. If you ever meet a lender who says otherwise, just run in the other direction. I mean, it's all about getting the best deal for you at the end of the day. So that's what we want to see. I'll talk about a couple of different other types of financing that we can offer. I know that the town of Brunswick and the state of Maine are potentially coming in with some funding for your purchase, which is great. And we've seen more and more of this over the last few years with prices rising so quickly. We've seen more public support for resident purchases. And as wonderful as that is, public entities don't always move quickly, particularly as quickly as the standard timeline for a real estate contract. So if needed, what we've done from time to time is offer what's called a bridge loan, which is essentially a short-term loan, paying interest only, so no principal payments for maybe it's a month or 2 months, 4 months, whatever the case may be. So to bridge you to that period when the town or when the state of Maine can close to assist you with your purchase. So I'm not sure what the latest is with those entities, but if that comes into play, we're happy to talk about that. Also from time to time, we can offer construction loans. The benefit of a construction loan is that you only pay interest as you draw the money down, and then whenever that project is completed, whether it's roads or septic systems or water tanks, that loan can convert to an amortizing status. So once it's all drawn down, you start your principal and interest payments at that point. As I understand it, the initial indications are that the infrastructure looks pretty good, so maybe that won't be necessary here, but always something to consider. Just another tool in the toolkit to make this purchase feasible and to keep the lot rents as low as possible. Right? So. Yeah. Any questions from? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, let me get your mic. That one you just got
Thank you for that presentation. And I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to verify. On page 2, under the paragraph, you're taking the commercial real estate. Of course, that's land, so that's your first priority. But you have here that you're also taking an interest in accounts, inventory, investment property, fixtures, I guess. I'm pretty sure that would not include each person's individual mobile home. Am I correct in that?
Absolutely. So very similar to the pre-development loan, the acquisition mortgages we do are a loan to the corporation. So it's what we call non-recourse. Again, no individual is personally responsible for the loan. There is no lien on any individual's home. What that refers to, I know there are some sheds or outbuildings, that sort of thing. There would be a lien on those buildings. I understand that the tractors and whatnot are not transferring with the communities, but if they were, there would be a lien on that equipment as well.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Or if you, I yell at everyone about the mic. That's also relevant in communities where there's like a pump station or like a well house type of thing, but less relevant for Lynn Haven. Anyone else on the board before anyone opens up? Got a long cord? No questions? Do you want to open it up for the members, the residents?
Any questions from the crowd?
Yeah, I had to come down today. We're trying to work on the acoustics.
Would you please go over what you mentioned about the septic system? I know it was fine what you folks went through yesterday, but you mentioned something about you're not responsible for the septic system within the you're going to be giving us.
So just to clarify, I'm separate. I know the engineers were on site yesterday, I believe it was.
Different people.
Different people?
Yeah, but
Okay.
we're all doing different tasks to help support this purchase. What I was just trying to get at is that how important it is that everyone understand what's going on underground. I know they were just here yesterday, so they haven't completed their report. But once they do and make that information available, it's just something that is so critical for everyone to review.
Now, do we know how old the systems are? Do we have a record of individual septic systems? Because I'm looking right back, they say they're in good shape. But how about maybe, a year from now, 2 years, if they start failing? Do we have any idea on that?
I think this is a good question that I'd love if we came back to when we get to the report out on the engineering, because that's exactly the type of information we'll cover just a little bit later on in the agenda. And it's a little bit separate, so Kevin's loan fund funded the engineering, and from where he sits, he's waiting to see the reports in writing, same as all of you are, and then everyone will kind of review them, decide what you want to do about it, and if it's a huge amount of work that needs to be done right out the gate, then do you want to talk about construction loan, that would be an option. He could provide financing as one option.
Yeah, again, it's just, we've seen soup to nuts all across the country doing this work. I mean, if there were a situation where you could just pick, for example, say like 5 septic systems or drain fields need to be replaced, we or another lender might be able to provide a construction loan so that work could be done over time, draw down that money to do that work, and then it converts to that permanent loan. But again, I think, getting that report in, analyzing it, looking at your budget with CDI and others will inform what sort of financing package you might be looking for.
I have a question. What is the rate right now? I assume this is going to be a fixed, no?
We're not talking about the what?
He can talk about his rate.
His
Okay.
rate, not other rates. I just heard something.
Yeah, so in the term sheet that I provided, we provided in what we call an indicative rate, so obviously interest rates go up and down all the time. I think the rate we put in there was 6.23% on our second mortgage. That's where it would be today. Who knows where interest rates are going to go over the next week, 3 weeks, month. I also provided a term sheet that TD Bank provided, and I believe they quoted 6.31%. Again, including those TA fees for CDI and the servicing fees for the loan. But same sort of thing. It goes up and down. That's where they were. I think it was a few weeks ago when they quoted that. And as you get closer to your acquisition and moving forward, again, encourage you to get updated rate quotes from your various potential lenders. You can compare apples to apples.
Is it 30 years?
The question was, is it a 30-year loan? So the answer, speaking for Rock USA Capital and also what TD Bank can do, the answer is no. It's a 10-year term, but it's on a 30-year amortization, which is very typical for commercial real estate. For those that are familiar with residential mortgages, kind of backed by the federal government, very often get a 30-year loan. That is really not the case typically in commercial real estate. I mean, sometimes, I mean, if you can find data that's important to you, so I certainly encourage you to shop around. More often, commercial real estate loans are 5 to 7 to 10 years. So it's a 10-year loan, 30-year amortization. So in other words, the payments are calculated like it's a 30-year mortgage. And at the end of the 10-year, at that point, you would refinance and redo your financing package at that point.
Okay, you mentioned a second mortgage loan. Is there any reason why or benefit to not just getting all it from the one loan like TD Bank?
Yeah, great question. So part of the answer is, as a brand new entity, the co-op is not putting in massive amounts of cash equity into the purchase. This is a limited equity model where every household puts up maybe $100 in a share price. So as opposed to like a commercial investor that would be putting down hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars under this limited equity model, not only the purchase, but also some of the reserves and the closing costs are also being financed. So at Rock USA Capital, we can go up to 110% loan to value. Typically, a commercial bank, whether it's a local savings bank or somebody like TD, they're going to be limited. Typically, they can only go 70% or maybe 80% loan to value. And because Rock USA is a nonprofit, mission-driven lender focused on resident ownership, we have a little more flexibility, and we can go up to that higher loan to value limit. And because of that, it has to be a separate loan, separate mortgage.
Or comments, doesn't need to be just questions.
Sorry, we missed last week, so a couple of questions. Is the loan going to be fixed or variable, adjustable?
Yeah, another great question. Again, speaking for Rock USA Capital and what TD has put in their term sheet, they're both fixed rates for the full 10 years.
Is the fixed rate?
Yes, sir.
For 10 years. Even though we're in a situation right now where probably, God willing, and the creek don't rise, interest rates are going to drop.
Yeah, so I mean, we did see some borrowers that were able to do modifications or refinances, and if rates do drop precipitously in the next few years, that's always an option. But we, speaking for us as a lender that's been doing this for a long time, we want you to know exactly what your costs are going to be, what your financing costs are going to be, your debt service. So we do not do any variable rate lending at Rock USA Capital.
Okay, so you don't offer it at all?
That's correct.
Kevin, do we have to wait the full? They can hear me, right?
Everyone wants to not use the mic. I get it.
If we want to, can we refinance sooner than 10 years, or are we locked in at 10 years?
So you're not locked in. We generally do not have prepayment penalties. Sometimes we have what's called a loan participant. So if we make a $6 million loan, we may bring in another, local nonprofit lender from Maine as part of the deal, and we can't always control what their prepayment penalty is. And also, I can't speak for TD Bank. So you always can refinance, but I don't know what the prepayment penalty might be for other lenders involved in the deal. And the biggest factor there is going to be your first mortgage lender, because they're the biggest piece of the pie. So that's another good question to ask when you're exploring your first mortgage options, is to see what the prepayment penalty might be with that lender.
Anything else?
At some point, I'd like to know, I don't have my calculator with me, just what the payment is going to be.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's early here, but I think that's another good question to ask as you're reviewing your lending options. And it's, what are called amortization schedules can be calculated pretty easily. And you can look at that depending on what the various terms your potential lenders are offering. It might be a little early for that, but pretty easy to produce those once you're shopping around for your permanent financing.
Did you say we were or were not
Prepayment penalties, none?
So speaking for Rock USA Capital, we do not put prepayment penalties in. Again, if we have a participant in our loan, they might. And I can't speak for whoever your first mortgage lender is going to be. Again, that's something you should explore and research. You really understand that.
So the loan is for 10 years with 360 amortization. So we're going to have to do something at the end of 10 years, correct?
Yes.
It's not like a balloon payment?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a balloon payment, but again, no one expects you to come up with, $20 million cash 10 years from now. It would be a refinance at that point with whoever your lender is at that point, or again, you go shop around and see who can offer you the best terms at that point. I mean, at that point, you'll have 10 years of audited financial statements. You'll have built up some equity. At that point, banks will probably be falling over themselves to lend to you. So you'll, go shop around at that point. Good question. So the question was, does Rock Capital do refinances? The answer is yes. We've been around since 2008, so some Rocks have come up to that point where their loan has matured. We have done probably 25 refinances around the country so far. And some have chosen to go with local banks or another local lender, and that's fine. Again, it's whatever the best terms you can find at that point.
Follow-up question?
When you refinance, won't there be closing costs involved?
Yes, there will.
At what percentage?
It sort of varies. It tends to be less costly than the acquisition because you already have a survey, you already have title insurance. It's just a much easier. Again, it's going to depend on. I mean, if you're pulling out more money or you're paying it down, it's hard to say at this point what those transaction costs would be. But I mean, maybe we could, work with CDI to estimate that for you.
What kind of a ballpark? Okay, if you apply for a loan with a lender now, you kind of get an idea what closing costs would be. Because that could be with multi-millions, a lot of money. So just curious.
And maybe I could speak to that without screaming in your face. I'll go over here. I've worked with some groups, as have Pat, who have come up on their refinances. So I guess a sense of estimate would be most times they'll do another property conditions assessment. So this time around, your property conditions assessment is running about $20,000. And then most times they'll also do another appraisal because they want to know how has the value of my asset changed. So that runs about $5,000, 25 right there. Then legal costs, another 5 to 7. So we're talking about $30,000. What other costs do we tend to see? Like Kevin just said, we don't see the need for another boundary survey. Most times we have no need for another environmental site assessment. So we're really talking property conditions, legal, and appraisal. And then whoever the lender is that you're bringing to your table will charge a loan origination fee, which could be, what would you say?
We charge 50 basis points, so 0.5% of the new loan amount. I mean, there are going to be some lawyers involved, which could be, a few $1,000s.
So it does cost.
I'm sorry, did you say origination fee?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, origination from like a TD Bank or.
50
Yeah. So it does cost to refinance, which when we have groups that want to do it earlier, they kind of do the math. We sit down with them and say, is the cost of doing this worth what you save in interest? And at that point, I guess that's what I would say. It's not the same cost that you're spending now to acquire the property, but there are costs, which is good to be. Yeah. Other questions? I do know that the next speaker's already sitting here. So not to rush you off, Kevin, but any other questions or comments?
Really appreciate the questions and the conversation, and apologies, my boss, Michael, couldn't be here, maybe some technology problems here, but I know he would like to meet at some point and hopefully continue to work with you going forward. So thank you again. Have a good night.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, now we have an interview with Jeff Martin. He's the CEO of Foreside Real Estate Management in Falmouth. He's going to do a presentation on property management for us.
that. You can tell I'm not a public speaker. I mean, I spend my day in an office and a board meeting. So, again, my name is Jeff Martin. I'm the president and CEO of Foresight Real Estate Management. We've been in the property management, or I've owned the company for 25 years. We are a condominium association, HOA, and apartment management company. We manage approximately 3,000 units all over the state of Maine. We have about 95 associations that we handle in-house. Some of the projects you might be familiar with, we are the master HOA management company for Brunswick Landing Master Association, which is a road association and takes care of lawns. Actually very similar to what you're looking for at here. That's about 460 units that we do out there. We also have an apartment division that is focused, our mission is affordable housing. What we do is we work with a number of government entities, projects that are removing outside of the government financed entity. We take those to private financed and we restrict those as affordable housing. A couple projects you might know in the Portland area is Catherine Courts and Wadsworth Place, which is actually Brunswick, that we handle over there. We do actually do some work over in at Whispering Pines, which is out in Thompson, by the Thompson Fair Mall. What is property management? So why do you need us? We're professionals, but our job is, I like to think of it as a city council, city manager type of role. The city council is responsible for running the fiduciary responsibilities of the board of directors for your community. You are the elected officials, you are the spokespeople, you are the people who make the decisions and develop the direction for your association or your co-op. Our job is to work for you, and implement those. We're professionals, we'll provide our experience and advice and help secure vendors and oversee the vendors and the day-to-day work out there. But ultimately, we work for you. We don't unilaterally determine what you do at your association. It's up to you how you run it and how you run it with the input from the community members out there. We make sure that you stay in compliance, we take care of your financials, make sure your vendors are paid, make sure that the fees are collected. We work with you on the budgets, and we work with you in securing good quality, competent vendors to take care of your association, keep it up to the exact standards that you want and demand from your community. So it's a very simple thing, but it's a very important role to make sure that you maintain your investment at your community, and that we're making sure that folks are running or living at your community within the rules of your community, and things that are getting done into your community are following the guidelines of your declaration, your bylaws, and those types of things. So I want to open it up to questions. I think I kind of explained what went on or what we do. But I'd like to answer any questions. It sounds like you guys are in the middle phases of entering this very exciting project, which I think is absolutely fantastic. But I'd like to just leave it open as to talk about what we do and how we work with you.
Do you have a breakdown of the costs associated with the services you provide?
Yeah, we'll work up a proposal. I can tell you that typically management, our costs for administration, doing your financials, having a manager assigned to your property who's your main point of contact, making sure you have your accounting software done, those types of things. It's approximately 10% of your total budget is usually the administration portion of your association. I haven't seen a budget yet, and we're still working out the scopes of those things, but that's typically what management company costs.
So you don't have a per door, per month cost?
It will be a per door, per month. I'm not prepared to provide that today. I think it was more of an interview and trying to figure out what you guys have, and we'll provide something to Nora. Okay. We'll work a little more on understanding the budget and the scope of the needs that you guys need. One of the things that we look at is we we need to figure out how much time or how much labor and resources that's going to be on site, that takes an effect or a cost. You know, I certainly understand the overhead that we're going to take to manage this, but we'll get it from there.
Would there be somebody reach out to 24/7 for an emergency on the property?
Yes, absolutely. We have a full maintenance staff that handles all sorts of emergencies. We have 24/7 on call, so you can call our main line. You're going to get a live person. We have an answering service, so we'll go to them. What happens after that is that it goes to our maintenance technicians that are on call, and they'll triage the situation. They'll figure out if it's something that somebody needs to go out right away, if it's usually life safety or property issue, or it's something that needs to be reported to management the next following day and then followed up on with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you got come on down. Sorry to make you walk so much. Is the audio working better this meeting?
On that, obviously, for like an after-hours call, is there, I'm gonna assume there's a charge, and how do you handle it if there is a, issue that is the landlord, I'm gonna use tenant word issue, because I've run this as well, like, you know, drain pipe froze.
Sure.
Plumber says it's underground, kid comes over and goes, yeah, nope, it's right there.
Yeah, well, first of all, we'll make sure, you know, we don't like to go out with any surprises and say that something is an owner issue, or not say something is an owner issue until we get out there and say it's an owner issue. But we'll explain that. We'll be very versed in your documents to know what's owner issue and what's association or co-op issue. What we do is if it is an owner issue, that we'll let that owner know. They have the option to have us repair it for them, and they're going to get a bill directly for that work. And if they want an estimate for that work, that's, you know, and it's large enough for an estimate, we certainly can do that as well.
The other question I have is, what forms of payment and methodologies do you use? I mean, like for us, we're used to going up and putting it in a box up at the office.
Sure.
Do you have other forms, or what methodologies do you use for us?
We still have some projects that still use a box, but we have an online portal. So everybody's going to have an account that they can get online and look at through the internet or on their phone and look at their account statements. They can put in work order requests. They can put in architectural changes requests. They also pay their fees. They can either pay the fee through the portal. They can pay it through the bank to the address. They can get a coupon booklet, or if there is a payment box that people still want to use, we have folks in the area, so we'd be happy to pick them up. But everything is coordinated with our computer software system, and everybody will have an individual account to log into. You can pay by credit card too, but I don't recommend that because the credit card company charges a fee. So
For those people who don't really use technology for that, can they mail in a check?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You'll get like the old ways. We all remember we had coupon booklets, and you'll get a coupon booklet where you put in with an envelope with your check, and you can send it in. You can drop it off at our office, or you can, if there's a lockbox in an office to pick it up, we can do that for you. There unfortunately is, unless the co-op wants to pay that fee, because it's a processing company goes through, they'll charge a $15 fee for it. We only really have it if people don't pay, and we're like, well, there's a way you can pay by credit card, but there is a fee for that. So I don't recommend it. Some people do because they want to get the points for it, but.
Does that get passed to your fee?
No, it's not my fee.
It's a bank fee.
What's that?
Does that get passed to the charger, or does that get passed to the association?
The card holder pays for that. No, it's not an association fee. So.
I pay $15 more to pay by credit card.
Yeah, I would recommend it, but it doesn't even come to me, so it's really goes to the big bag corporation somewhere, and I don't know, wherever, at Visa.
I
just have two questions that aren't related. Should you consider ever in your company having a contract that would have a split base problem and a percentage of cash collected?
I think you gotta talk a little bit about it.
I'm sorry.
Have you considered having a base problem per unit per month rate, and then an incentive on top of that for a percentage of cash collected, so that it's not just, you going out and getting the money?
Oh, for us, like having a set fee for us and then an incentive fee to collect more money?
Yeah, the lower base per unit per month and take 2% of cash collected, that kind of a deal.
Well, I mean, it's our job to collect the cash, right? So anyway, so we hope that we collect all 100% of it. I haven't. I don't have that situation with anybody. We usually do a fixed fee because we have operating, because I have to pay the property manager's salary, I have to pay the accounting staff salary, we pay for your software costs. So most of our costs are already fixed already. So our business model is to charge a fixed rate for the administrative services that we provide.
You would handle that right through eviction. If somebody stops paying, you're going to go ahead and take it all the way through to court.
Well, you can't, if somebody owns a unit, I got to look at the co-op rules, but I'm not sure, you might be able to, you can do eviction? Okay. Yeah, we would handle that with an attorney because we're not attorneys, so we can't show up to court for you. But we have attorneys that we work with, and if we're going through the eviction process, then that attorney would appear at court, and there would be a fee there. Now, there's not a fee for the management company to process that eviction. Our job, one of our jobs, is to make sure we collect and go through the collection process if somebody doesn't pay. Hope that doesn't happen, but
thank you.
But it may.
I'll be your runner.
You said that if people want to put money in the box, you have people that would be glad to pick it up.
Yeah, we have people we have people running around town all day long. Yeah.
That indicates that there will be no warm body in the office and no one on site, correct?
We aren't expecting that. The management plan, or how the association, your co-op, wants to be managed, is certainly up to them. If they want a person to be on site, we certainly can do that. There's an added cost for that person to be on site, but that's going to be up to the board of directors to determine that through the management plan. So if there's somebody, if you want somebody there, that would be our job to make sure that somebody's there.
I may have missed this, but can you directly debit our checking account?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do ACH, so we can draw it. So if you want to sign up, that's our favorite way to do it. So if you want to sign up and and forget about it, we certainly can do that. It'll get pulled on a monthly basis around the 5th of the month, I think, because some folks are on our Social Security, so we want to make sure we pull it after the Social Security check.
Does your company have any experience dealing with septics, or would you have to get a vendor to deal with that?
Well, we would outsource. We would work with folks. We do a lot of septics. We also do private water systems. So, Brunswick Landing has worked with the sewer district, but we have properties all over from Machias to Jackman to Orono. Those are all on septic systems. And actually, we have a large septic system that we take care of down in Brunswick at our Catherine Court place. So.
Questions?
You mentioned condominiums and affordable housing. I'm assuming you have enough fidelity insurance to cover
Yes. Yes, we have. That's a good question. One of the biggest things the board has to do is make sure that your risk is managed for insurances. So we have general liability, workers' compensation. We have a employment dishonesty, which is fidelity insurance. We also have cyber crimes insurance for all your accounts that we pay for. So nowadays, there are a lot of hackers out there that are trying to get into accounts and draw ACHs out of accounts. So if that does, what's that? Oh, okay. So we have that coverage for that. So if a hacker did go in to break into your account, we have coverage for that. Now, the bank account that you have is your bank account. It's under your tax ID number. It's yours. So.
All right, here's a big one, because we were discussing, we have vacant lots.
Mm-hmm.
Do you help handle bringing in and installing new homes, or would we have to get a development company to do that?
We would work with a developer to do that for you. So, we probably could, but I think it would probably be best if we worked with a development company to do that. It'd probably be more cost effective and quicker for you to do it that way.
So the board president, who's joining on Zoom, texted 2 questions right here. One is, have you represented any other mobile home parks? And the other is, does your company have a watchdog that looks for infractions for rules, or is that up to the members and the board?
It's two things. Mobile homes. We've had work with owners of mobile homes in the past. But your mobile home situation is very similar to an HOA or road association. So we've done a lot of work related to HOAs, which is almost identical to what you were looking at through your co-op. So we have a lot of experience to that. Again, we have Brunswick Landing Master Association, which is 460 units, and there are 9 different stakeholders and entities that are in that community. And the last thing is the rules and oversight is it's in coordination and conjunction with the board. Certainly, if we see something that we're out there, we would work with the board to handle that. Ultimately, it's the board's responsibility based on their policies to decide if they're going to fine or letter or violate somebody, but we would help facilitate that process. We also use a recording process, so our software can record the violations and manage that process as necessary.
Questions or comments?
Does your company, hello,
Great, we're speaking on microphone.
I want to hug you.
Anyway, I like hugs.
I know. No, I had a question regarding new applicants. Like with the Lynn Haven, the way they've been running the show is that they run, background checks on all the applicants wanting to come into the park. Is that something your company would do?
We can do that, yes. We could also lease up units for
Make sure
Yeah, we have,
criminals or...
oh, absolutely. We have like I said, we have about 1,000 units in apartments. So we
They
do.
have to have the right credit score too.
Yeah, we have actually, when I first started this company, I probably couldn't live in some of my apartments because my credit score was, had a company, so it's not very good. But we have a leasing office, which in the parameters for leases, what we do with a leasing office is that there's a leasing standards that, and if there's extenuating circumstances, then it's up to the ultimately we may talk to the board to get final approval on that. The application process, along with credit score, criminal check, predator check, sexual predator check, child, those kinds of things are all done through our office. We do that already with all our departments.
Actually, I have a comment. I really was impressed with the way you started your presentation. It was so nice to just have somebody say, why do we need you? Instead of telling us what they're going to do, and we don't even know what we need. So I was really impressed by that. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I have a question about your primary form of communication with the board, and would there be one primary point person that they're in touch with? In addition to that, would that person or a representative from your company be attending board meetings monthly, annually, and sort of studios, things of that kind of?
Yes. The answer to all those questions is yes. You'll have one point of contact or a main point of contact, and we assign an experienced property manager in our office who is trained. They go to professional training and they know how to do this. is. That property manager is responsible, it's basically interacting between the board, the community, and our company. That property manager is not an island of themselves. We have a staff of 50. So our property manager all have an assistant manager that they work with. So if that property manager is out on site or doing something else, you can certainly get to our assistant. We have a receptionist that works in the office. You can call our receptionist. He's there from 8 to 4 o'clock every day. The treasurer of your association, the treasurer of your board, will also be assigned a lead accounting person. So that lead accounting person is responsible for finalizing and reconciling the financial statements and providing the financial statements to that treasurer and any questions that that treasurer may have to get answered.
Did you say what the response time was for communications from like tenants, board?
Our managers are expected to respond to my emails within 24 hours. We do have like live persons, so if there's an emergency, you can talk to somebody and get tracked down.
Any other questions or comments?
I do.
Janet, someone in the room is gonna talk.
Is it renewed every year? Do you have 3-year contracts, 5 years? Is that something that we can negotiate?
Yeah, yes. You know, our standard graph agreement is for 1 year. A lot of associations like to do 3-year contracts, and they might do a COLA adjustment, or actually one of them we just signed was no more than, you know, the lesser of 3% or the COLA adjustment for the year. So we like that because it stabilizes our plans too. So.
Another question I have is, as a property management group, do you just automatically keep the same cloud person or whoever, or do you meet and, you know, get proposals from other companies to do, you know, the stuff that you have to outsource? How often are you getting proposals from people and?
Well, we like to be good stewards of our vendors, so if they're doing a good job, we like to keep them around. As long as the pricing is good. We do, like I said, we do about 3,000 units, so we kind of know what pricing should look like and be. You know, we do, like I said, we have a plowing contractor to a Naval Air Station, so I know what plowing is there, and we have some economies and scales that can save your association money because we can, you know, you kind of piggyback on those kinds of things, and you get those, enjoy those things. But if you're not doing a good job, I mean, it makes our job really hard, right? Because people are going to call and say things that get plowed, I couldn't get the work, and, you know, all those kinds of things. We don't like that. So if they're not doing a good job, they're not following the specifications of the contract, we're certainly going to recommend to the board that we go out and bid them out. But we also price check to make sure that the pricing that you're getting is comparable or a good price for that. Ultimately, because we work with the board, it's up to the board whether they want to go out to bid or not. I mean, that's the decision. That's how we recommend to our boards. If we got a good vendor and they like the property, they're giving a good price, get to know them, they see the place, they understand it, they start to meet people, and we like to keep them. We don't want to change them just to change them.
Any final comments or questions? No? Okay, thank you very much for your presentation.
I think she had one more question.
Wait,
One more
Janet.
question.
Yep.
I'm gonna repeat Janet's question. Well, I don't wanna cry out. Janet, do you wanna say your question, then I'll repeat it into the mic for the recording?
Sure. I sent you them in a text, but I'll say them to you. So couple of quick questions. Do they attend our meetings, our board meetings? Would they coordinate audits with our CPA, and would they advise on budgets, or are we going to be handling those things? And then I have one other question.
Sure. Those 3 questions are yes, yes, and yes. So your manager will be responsible for going to your meetings, whether they're on Zoom or in person. I think your other question, remember all 3 of them. The audits, your CPA audit and any Loan requirements, it sounds like you guys are getting a big loan, so there's probably gonna be some requirements on that side, for compliance to that loan, maybe requiring an audit. We would work with your CPA to do that audit. We actually do a number of audits now from government housing and the audits through there, so we have an accountant in our office for 3 months a year doing those things, so. And what was your last question? I'm sorry.
You advise with budgets?
Oh, yes. Your manager is going to work either in conjunction with the treasurer or just on her own to develop a first draft budget. First draft budgets usually occur about 60 to 90 days prior to your annual meeting. And then that budget is presented to the board of directors. And then the board of directors will have questions or tweaks or adjusted as necessary. Then we would readjust your budget to present it and get approved by the board of directors, which would go out through the annual meeting for ratification.
Okay, just one final question, sir. Do we have access to your software system? So I'm a finance person myself. And so would we have access to pull certain reports if we had interest in something in particular?
Yes, we set different levels for the board of directors and the owners. So the board of directors have a little more access. They can see maintenance work orders, requests that have been put in, and the status of those. They also can go in and pull financial reports. And those things. We also, in our portal, there's a document section. So anybody can pull any documents that the board is okay to have on there. A lot of times they'll put on the balance sheet and financial statements, quarterly or whatnot. You'll have the legal documents that are in there. They'll have contracts that are in there, so that folks have, our job is to be transparent and open about your community. It's your financials, it's your community, it's not ours. So, but we work in conjunction with you to make sure that you get all the information you want and see it there.
Thank you.
Anything final? I'd like to wrap it up. Okay, thanks very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much for your time. Good luck
For the board, would you like to request a proposal from Jeff? And would you like to request references as well?
Can we have a motion? Motion, please.
Motion to propose, to request a proposal and references for
Foresight Property Management.
Provide services to Blueberry Hills Co-op.
Second? All in favor?
That's great. I did pretty good then.
Thank you very much.
So I'll work with you on that. I just have a couple of questions. Just make sure.
I was thinking there's so many vendors, if you wanted to go back to that, talk about what the status is. Because there's so many, yeah.
Okay, we move on to old businesses, checking on vendor search regarding septic pumping, insurance, plowing, and mowing. As far as the plowing and mowing goes, myself and another board member, Doug, have been very active in reaching out to vendors. We have I can't take names, probably 25.
Whoa.
Well, you can hear back from them all.
Yeah.
What's up there, even after you call multiple times, but we've had some respond that said we're too big a project for them. But we have Cove Side.
Coach, as in
Cove Side, C-O-V-E, yeah, side. They're the ones that call and know Brunswick Bay. We were referred to them like Pat. And Brunswick Bay Board of Directors gave them a very a good recommendation. And we met with him, the owner of the company. We took a ride on this. I remember taking rides around the entire property to get an idea of what they'd be responsible for. And his quote is coming in, supposed to be tonight actually. I don't have his bid on me. I don't think I received that check. you tonight and just talk to you. We also have Willie C. and Sons Landscaping. They've given us a quote for mowing. Of course, I can't. Hang on, I'm sorry, I just can't remember exactly.
That's okay.
I have to-
Take your time. Take your time. Did I say that, Willie C? Like-
Willie C. and Sons, I.E., not mine.
Is Coveside just plowing?
Huh?
Coveside is just plowing?
No, both sides of the plowing and mowing.
And then Willie C is just mowing?
Willie C. is mowing, but he's talking to, the person I spoke to was talking to his boss to see if they want to plow. They do plow some properties, but his boss, they were trying to back off on that a little bit, but because we're such a good-sized contract, he's talking to his boss to see if he will be interested in plowing, and if so, I'll give you a quote on that, or let me know.
Are we bidding for mowing on common areas, or is this for the?
We're really going on common areas. I mean, we don't have, I hate to say it, but it's not like we have the owner of the property who's gonna be mowing, individual lawns any longer.
Still mow our own lawns.
You'll mow your own or get your own vendor, get your own.
And looking at the bids.
Sir, I'm sorry to bug you. Do you mind coming up to the mic? I just know it helps everyone kind of. You could probably just sit up here.
As far as getting the bids, is this something you've mentioned to the guys that are bidding, if they want to do additional, like individuals? Like if I wanted to sign, if we hired somebody, maybe I want to sign it for them.
I have mentioned it. Most of them that do the big commercial properties don't do that. Well, one of the companies has said that they would consider it, but I don't have any quotes from them for anything yet.
Miranda's
I know we're gonna do the numbers tonight.
And
you don't have to-
can you clarify
You don't have to do
that
numbers tonight.
the plowing is just for streets?
Plowing is just for the streets. Again, we don't have any, we as the board don't have any individual equipment to do the driveways any longer, so that's something else we'll have to try and at least get recommendations for people for. We'll ask the vendors as well, if any of them have people that do it, or if they want to do it.
Did you ask these people if they would do Plot Street and do?
Yes, I just said that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't.
That's okay. Yeah, the answer is mostly no.
They didn't hear that. They didn't want to do the driveways and streets.
Correct. Most of the companies that do the streets are commercial property people, so they're gonna do others. They make a lot more money than other streets. They have big equipment. They don't have the individual to do plowing your driveway down. None of them will do it so far. One I asked to remain, but they haven't given me a quote on anything yet. So it's possible, but most likely, I don't know, something I have to figure out.
And the lawn mowing, and I saw a proposal from,
Willie C.
Willie C. And it was like, $2,200, $2,500, is that like?
A mow.
A mow, and a mow means, I'm gonna mow the entire.
All the common areas of the property.
Common areas.
Correct. We're getting vendors for common areas. We don't know who's, I mean, a lot of people mow their own, so we can't. We wouldn't have to afford the cost if we're gonna have to mow everybody's lawn.
Was it 2,500 you wanted to do common areas?
Yeah.
I think we need to talk.
We talked about more, but this might get more quotes. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I think for tonight, we kind of talk, to give you a sense that the research is being conducted, and then once you reach like a critical mass of quotes, like say 3 quotes from cloud companies, then let's talk numbers, like apple, side by side. I think that for everyone to follow along will be more useful than put Tom on the spot, like get your phone out, and one quote, so I think you should plan on doing that next week or the week after. You, sir?
Sounds like a week, right? You're gonna print it up, and it's gonna be 5, 6.
As many as you want to find, to be honest.
My question is, since I've been neighboring, and they just turned around and put the names on the street, it was understood that it's not a private way, but the town of Brunswick was supposed to plow that. Because once you name a street under Brunswick, it's a street of Brunswick.
I think we better check that out. I don't think that's correct. But it's certainly something to check out. I mean, that would be awesome if it were true.
I did call the town of Brunswick.
Huh?
They do
Just
not
to-
mow our streets.
Can't hear you.
The mic doesn't, we're low tax today, so we can't hear you. I did call the town of Brunswick to ask them, I said, we do, if our trash truck, the town is responsible for that. By any chance, are you responsible to plow our roads? And she researched it, and she said they do not.
Right.
Right.
I've done that.
Well, pay your taxes.
Back to you, sir. We'll say that now, right?
Well, we're not gonna get arguing about taxes tonight. I mean, if they do it, they do it. If they don't, they don't. We can't make them.
Oh, yes, you can.
Well, no, we can't, but let's move along for now.
Yes, you can, by the town meeting.
Go ahead, try it. I'm all for it. It'd be great if you could accomplish it.
Because we're not a park, we're a community.
I know, but we're also private.
There's a difference.
There is a difference. I'm not sure you understand it all. Well, okay, that'd be great. Please do.
So I think in terms of, we got cloud mode, septic, I think Chris, you were working on, or Doug, you were working on septic? For, yeah, I think you wanna talk just about Julie?
I called, three companies, Julie is who they use now. This is, Scott Holmes' company. They've been around a long time, they're, as I said in the email, they're like a big dog on the block. So I called, spoke to Mike Dewey, and then I called, spoke to, Casella and Blow Brothers. And what it essentially comes down to is, Mike Dewey does a lot of big jobs. He's a busy guy with a lot of work going on, and he has the best price. And when he gets too busy with big stuff, and he has the small jobs and he can't get to them, he hires these other guys to come do them for him. They're his subs. And they charge a little bit more than he does. That's just the way it is, to be in bigger and more trucks. He can haul all the time. The other guys were like $400 for 1,000 gallons to pump. But Dubay was he said $375 for 1,000 gallons. But the more the better. So if we do a big pump, he's gonna come in like once a year, do a big pump, we'll get a lower price. So we close he said it might even go all the way down to $250. We have to calculate how much you're doing and how long we'll be there all day, how many trucks are there doing. So maybe you'll get a 3 1/4, maybe you'll get a 3, maybe you'll get a 275. But he's the low guy, he's the big guy, and he knows where everything is, he knows it backwards and forwards. So my recommendation is, we hire today.
Today, not today.
Okay, thank you.
I've done my job.
Does that include the legal open it up?
He mentioned that, and we need to discuss this, is these covers have like this much dirt on top.
Not mine.
And I've seen some walking around yesterday, I saw some didn't think. And he would, he did call and say, all right, this is day, let's go do it. And he'd say, okay, get him cleaned up. And Kid would get his, guy to go to the show, and scrape off the 1.5 2 inches of dirt, the rest of each one. They pump them, and then they come back, put the cover back up, then put 2 inches of dirt, and some lawns, which to me is an unbelievable waste of time, and money. I don't see why you do it. I would recommend, unless somebody's got a better idea, that we just go cover up with dirt and grass. The post is, you know, you can see it, you don't have the others, they all look around. Anybody know what this is? Have you ever seen that? Well, yeah, there it is. And then there's another one right there. I think that's what we should do, and that's the one less cost we have to hire a laborer to come and do it. Or I'll make her do it. Alright? And I was asking her, so I don't even know.
So just to keep us on track, Chris, can I ask, who gets a proposal waiting for today?
I asked that, he said yes, I will give you a call if that's what you want.
Is that what the board wants?
Yes. What address would I have?
Up to you guys, not me. Everyone is sent to you, yeah.
I thought we want to send an address, so we don't propose you come into. And I didn't know if we should abuse Janet's good nature because she's not here to say no.
She's here. She's right here. I'm typing. So Janet is watching us all and listening.
Janet, do you mind if they use your address as a proposal for the septic?
You can't hear?
Can you hear me?
She says no. I'll type it.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So why don't we send it to Chris for the second? Okay.
Oh, never mind. I'm gonna send it to Chris.
Okay.
Well, you can tell it down, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, we can get private conversations right now.
So then, okay. So then the other thing, I think I just, if you don't mind, Tom, just real quick on property management.
Insurance.
Oh, insurance, I know Celeste has it, I reached out, so there's very particular insurance requirements because of, the possibility of the Freddie loan here, they have very particular, I gotta send it to you. And then, one of the companies that I sent it to is Taylor Fryer Coon, which is in, I think they're in somewhere in upstate New York, and they cover all of the resident communities, all of them throughout New England that we work with, so that's just a proposal that I recommend you consider.
I got permission to get Kurt's records and whether they send it mine or his insurance, and send that to Janet. Then we consider the special requirements, but I'm not sure, but the insurance company we have now will do a proposal, depending on what your restrictions are. We'll definitely do a proposal. I called Shampoo Insurance in Lewiston, they don't seem to handle mobile parks. I think Liberty Mutual Light, so I can call them, but not Liberty Mutual.
I work with them.
Really pay for what we need, you know?
What's the current company? Okay, so I'll just say current company. I just want, yeah.
Yeah, Kurt's company. Yeah, they have to get permission from Kurt before they can send it to you.
Okay, so that's those options. Yeah. Look, Chris, stand up.
Thank you.
Mike Judy mentioned that he usually likes to do it in the fall. And he usually has, and the kid agrees, he has huge trucks that come in. Spring, early summer, ground might be wet, trucks might sink in, down in their wheels, something might get off the grass, something might be down. So it'd be in the fall.
Okay.
It has not been pumped this year, by the way, I might add. I think that it's in our interest, and this is where I would go to Janet and say, would you ask Kurt when he's going to pump this year as well?
Thank you.
So that's through insurance. So the other thing I would mention on property management, just to kind of close out the vendor section. So, I'll write this down too for any people who like to see stuff written. So you interview first choice, You interviewed Forsyth Property Management tonight. Next week, you'll do 3 interviews. A big week for property management interviews. You will interview, I'm gonna get my list, Seaglass, which Celeste found here in Brunswick, and Southern Maine Real Estate Management, which someone, I think Tom recommended.
Well, really Doug found it.
And Doug found, and the CEO of that company is gonna come as well, his name is Brandon Caruso. Is that familiar to anyone? He said he knew the community and that he maybe sold some homes here previously. So that's Seaglass and Southern Maine Real Estate Management. And then Kathy, is her last name Doble?
Yeah.
So, she's gonna come for an interview as well. And I know people have expressed very pro and very anti having a current vendor who's also a resident. At the end of the day, this is a membership decision. She's being brought into an interview. She's being considered as one of 5 different options. As I said at the start of this process, CDI, our recommendation is to go with a company and to kind of keep the resident management services separate. At the end of the day, that's our recommendation. We have no mechanism to force you to do that. So people asked me to reach out to her and line up an interview, so she's gonna come interview. And at the end of this process, you'll have 5 different companies, I'll write their names out. On August 15th, my goal for you, because we're really reaching crunch time, we need to be reaching some decisions here, because we're coming up on finances deadline, and we need the plan to be fully cooked, and we'll talk about that under new business in just a minute. My recommendation is on August 15th, we publicize and you hold a membership meeting, and the membership takes a vote on who the property management is gonna be. By that point, we'll have to have written proposals with costs, and we'll compare apples to apples to apples to apples, and you'll take a majority rules vote. So it's kind of the will of the people. If you don't like the services, if you buy and you don't like the services, you can change it down the line. But is any questions on that? Because I know I got some personal emails, what's going on? Like, we need to see numbers. You absolutely will see numbers. I think the best route is to email blast them out and to put them on the website. And then when you actually come to make a vote, we'll put them up on the chart. And then we'll also put their resumes up on the website and the links to their site so you can go and check them out for yourself. Any questions on that? Celeste, Amanda? I want to do Celeste and we'll come to you first.
I just wanted to say on websites of companies, you can also see reviews from the people that use that company, and sometimes you find some really bad reviews, which I'm not going to talk to you about. So it's important to check everything on their website.
Yep.
I think Chris has
a question.
I might as well just start out with saying, I don't have any problem at all with somebody who lives here working. You know, that somebody went to the attendant. I think one thing we haven't discussed and that we need to look at is this a full-time job? Something like that, this is a 24-hour day job. I don't
This is the
believe it
recording.
There's nothing going on here for 24 hours a day. And we don't have to pay anybody to sit on the phone.
I don't know why that would be. You can't hear any.
$150,000 a year, so we can act like we're big shots.
It's just that it's a really big room.
It's being done.
It's on my computer.
In 9 years, I said it before. Kyle was in the office for years, and then Kathy.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's such a big room. The audio is much better in here.
I've seen her resume.
But this is the recording, so we need to have it like recording the meeting as well.
I know her personally, very nice lady, very organized.
I mean, I can only do, yeah.
What I see has been going on is, this is being run like a part-time operation, which is all good. It's a parking lot with a bunch of trailers in here. This isn't an amusement park.
It's not a part-time operation when Kurt's involved, however. It is for her, but anyway, that's not what we're here to discuss tonight. That's next week when we get all the proposals in. So I think we should change it. I understand what you're saying.
We want to talk about apples to apples. Well, I wanted to ask Kathy to say, because I don't recall in her proposal if she was saying, I'm proposing doing this the way I'm doing it now, which is 4 days a week, from 8 to 12, Monday through Thursday. And then we got other people from Conklin, from wherever, saying, we're gonna be on the ball all the time, and Rich Allen is buying new software.
Okay. We'll talk about it next
I
week.
don't know that we need all that. Let me finish. I don't know that we need all that, and I think we gotta set our sights accordingly. That's what I'm trying to say.
I understand. Personally, I disagree with you because it's a $26 million property we're responsible for. But again, it's not tonight's discussion. Let's talk about that next week. We have all the proposals.
Well, I bring it up now because it's on my mind and later I'll forget. That's why I have to speak when I have a chance.
You'll forget it. She'll be here. We have to keep up. We have to keep going with the agenda. Please speak, Chris. Let's go with the agenda, please.
Yeah, I think everything that makes sense, right? So why don't we consider this when all the proposals are in front of us?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think there is some non-negotiables. You do need someone, you need 24/7 emergency line. So if, for instance, and I don't know if this is the case, but if Kathy, when she interviews, says I can't provide that, you would need to find that somewhere else. Because I'm just telling you, from a quality of life standpoint for all the residents, you cannot call Tom or Janet or a board member for free. Chris, you got something you want to? So you kind of need to make sure you have some basics covered, right? Regardless of who provides those services.
So, I guess what I don't understand about the need of a 24-hour service is if we all own our own homes, we're all responsible for anything that goes wrong in our own homes, what would go wrong that we would be calling a property management company in the middle of the night?
Water main.
Sewage completely not working.
It doesn't come up often, but if and when it does, that's when you really need it. It'd be like,
It doesn't come up often, but we see it. It's really like a water line break, like a really bad septic situation where it's like coming up from the ground, gnarly electrical issues, like life and health and safety stuff. So it doesn't come up often. Sometimes people in communities call when they have problems in their home, and that is something that there's just like outreach and education on to say, that's not what the co-op PM is for, that's for your own vendors. But in a huge property like this, the same way that I imagine you can incur a call any time of night, or I don't know if you respond, but technically that's what a property manager is doing. That's kind of the quality of services we want to maintain. Does that make sense?
I think Pat has a comment.
I'll just speak to Maine and my experience in Maine. I can tell you Brunswick Bay across the street, when I was their TA, they had just kind of what Nora explained. There was a septic backup, and they had just recently, about 6 months previous, hired a full-service management company. They did not have a full-service 24-hour, and honestly, it was a blessing they did, because the board was at work, and it was a kind of a bad septic issue, so they called their property management company. They had preferred vendors that the community had agreed to, and they immediately were all over that issue, and they rectified it very quickly. I had another community I served in Arundel, Maine, a similar situation, but that was a water break in winter. So it came out on the street, and that board works very hard. No board members were in the park then. Not that the resident would knock on their door anyways. That's not the role of a board member in cooperative. So thankfully, the resident knew, called my property management company. The property manager looked, okay, great, we're gonna get someone right over there. So it doesn't happen a lot, no, but when it happens, boy, you're glad you have a 24-hour service. Pat Schweber does not pick up the phone at 2 a.m. in the morning, and nor does the board.
I think it's question.
Quickly, wouldn't Kurt have all those vendors in the event the homeowner needed to call somebody, would provide that? And wouldn't Kathy have that in her office? So if I had a problem, I would call that particular number that Kurt had.
So,
Call it was emergency, like your brother said, it was a water leak or a major, leak. Isn't that on the Brunswick water, we don't Brunswick water? Would we call public works if it was on the street?
So, sir, it depends on where the leak is, and as far as first vendors, the board, it sounds like the board is working to vet those vendors as well, and the decisions will be made, right, by your board, with membership input. What vendors do we want to hire? Well, gosh, this vendor that Kurt has used has been terrific. Kurt vouches for him, he's reasonably priced. Okay, then your community votes for that vendor.
Does Celeste?
I think Celeste has a question or comment. Celeste?
Oh, Pat, oh, no, then, sorry. I'm sending you in circles, right here.
oh,
Sorry, Pat. Yeah, it's secretly kind of short.
back several years ago, my husband and I, we had our pipes freeze, and we had to call and get somebody out there, and just somebody be a call on our own, if we didn't have a 24/7 person, right? We had to call and have somebody come and fix our pipe, freezing pipe, which I'm sure other people have had to do too, if it's too expensive to have somebody 24/7, I'm saying. The person that's living there can call somebody.
That doesn't count the water.
Correct.
Under the ground between the house and our house.
Right, you have main water lines in your park. So your own pipes are your own problem, right? But your main water lines, yeah.
Come on up.
Who's next, Nora?
Come on down.
I'm just gonna throw something else out. If we're looking at people to manage the park, realize that it's not just the part-time job of that person taking the money, the on-call person. There's also the CPA that's handling our books, the person handling our audits and whatnot, that we're gonna legally be required to have. So, yeah, this becomes a much bigger job, so like, I can work half days or 4 days a week to handle correspondences, get there. But there's a whole ton of stuff, having been a business owner in the past, there's a whole ton of stuff that you don't see that Kurt's doing or someone else is doing for the company. And this gets even more complex when you start throwing in the fact that now we are owner-owned. We own it, so there's a whole bunch of other breaks that fit in here. Does that make sense? So definitely would want, if we're gonna do it without using a management company, I would also say we need to consult a lawyer to verify what we need.
Okay.
Is that already in place?
Wait. Hang on a minute.
Hold on, Susan is next.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just use the same ones.
Fine.
Then there's a gap issue.
Terry.
It's something that got brought up at one of the meetings, and it's not the subject, but how are we gonna vote? The last time we voted, we were in the cafeteria. And all we did was stick our hand up, and someone said, we're gonna do something better than this. Now, if we got a list of 5 companies, what are we all gonna do? Somebody gonna say, hey, you stuck your hand up twice.
We can do written ballots.
That, I was
We're
gonna say.
doing written ballots for those
I
things,
need to
I believe.
ask about that, because he said, I won't vote.
We're doing written ballots for all those things.
I won't vote if I'm gonna have to sit there, someone stare at me and say, why did you vote for them?
Agreed.
You should know.
But we're gonna have written ballots. We'll be able to, you want, I'm just gonna know how you vote.
He asked me that.
So I just wanted to time check this because
We have to get going.
we got a couple more items. I know Zach hasn't had a chance to speak yet, so I'm just gonna give it to, yeah.
I just saw the loan terms here for the TD Bank, that we need a professional property management company, so we can't just have.
Yeah, I think it's also gonna be that way, but I don't know that for a fact. Not that for the commercial loans.
Oh, go for it.
Okay,
I think Zach's gonna repeat it, because I don't think everyone heard. Yep.
Sorry. So we need a professional manager company first.
So Zach is right, different lenders will have different requirements. You know, so TD Bank, as he indicated, requires a company, other lenders don't. Just going to keep that in mind. So just the skinny on this is, we already had first choice. You had Foresight tonight. Next week, busy week for property management. We're going to hit 3, and we got to be mindful of the time. We'll hit all of them, and then on 8:15, you will be asked to vote as a community, written ballot on one of these 5 options. If you don't like their services, down the line, you can change. They work for the co-op, so that's your discretion. To the gentleman's questions about what about the vendors already in place? In our experience, most of these companies, I would actually say, probably all of them, are going to have recommendations for accountants, but they probably don't have a CPA in-house that's going to do your audit. Also, they're preparing your financials. So from a business standpoint, you want your auditor to be separate from the entity that has prepared your financials all year. So most likely, whoever you hire is going to say, hey, this outlet we recommend. It'll be outside of their company, but it is going to be a requirement. And you can go, if you like, who Kurt has used, you can go with them. So certainly, we'll handle accounting after you purchase, really, because it's a year end. You know, it will happen at the end of your fiscal year.
I think we need to go on to business now. I think Nora's first thing is report on the Blue Boys and King septic drinking water inspection that they took on July 31st.
Can I put you on the spot to get the ball rolling?
Okay.
Since you were out there for 9 hours.
Well, I just don't know with that.
And I can hop in later.
What I can tell you is, that inspection yesterday, lasted 8.5, almost 9 hours. The team that arrived, was very professional. Kurt stayed with us the entire day, not a half, not a quarter, the entire day. The preliminary discussions on what I call the deck links, was that the inspectors were pretty impressed with the condition of the park, the water systems. Now, we still have to do, at the end of the day, we're going to do some soil samples. And so those tests will be coming in the final report. All in all, they were very complimentary about the park and the maintenance and the care.
It's good to hear.
That appeared.
Thank you. Nora, do you have anything?
So our hope there is that we will get that report also August 15th. I'm gonna write this all out so people can leave today with a sense of how August is gonna go, because it's gonna be boom, boom, boom. So yeah, we started out, we walked all acres of the community. They GPS located every system. They have a map that shows the age and when each system in the park was replaced. They looked at all the water meter pits. They looked in one office place, and they'll come hopefully the 15th and also present the information. And so you can ask directly of the engineers what they think of the place. And yeah, I think that covers it. I think while we're in this bucket, I would also like to report, because this was the second team of engineers that was on site. The first team was on site July 12th, and they met with, do I have it right, Melissa, was it Chris, Tom, were you there? No? Melissa, Chris, and Janet, and they also did an inspection. And they wrote that we'll expect to see it in the next couple days. They were also doing the environmental testing. So they said that they are well into their phase 1 and have come across some database listings which are going to require some additional research, which is why it's taken a little bit longer than they expected. They said the property has approximately 40 state spills database listings and over 150 state underground storage tank database listings. Based on this information so far, the property, and I'm sure the people who here for a long time know this to be true, previously used underground storage tanks for heating oil that were all pulled up, brought above ground in the late 1990s, early 2000s. Many of the above-ground storage tanks were then associated with small leaks and spills due to being improperly stored under the steps of mobile home units. There is a good amount of documentation available through the State Department of Environmental Protection, and from what we have reviewed so far, it looks like all of the underground storage tanks were removed, and all the spill cases have been closed out with the state. So at this current time, this could change when they produce a written report, but as of this point, they do not raise the idea of doing a phase 2 of environmental testing. So that's good. We're crossing our fingers that that stays to be the case. Obviously, if they find that some of this work hasn't been closed out, they will do a phase 2, and we'll have to discuss that, and get authorization from the board to do that. So that is the status of the other engineering report. And then Janet provided a written report that I'm going to ask Tom if you feel comfortable reading, or I can read it if that sounds okay. Do you want me to do it? Do you want to do it?
My glasses there?
Oh.
I can do it, yeah. So the feedback, if I read the room right, I can do it. If I read the room right, there was a desire to have a second realtor investigate one office place. The first realtor came back and said, 6 Kent Street, keep it residential, keep it rental, most likely. One office place, you could have a pretty expensive property there. He was seeing comps range from $800,000 to $1.2 million. Some members of the board said, hey, wait a minute, some of those comps are newer builds, they're on bigger parcels, let's get a second opinion. And Janet was present with Kurt's broker and Sue from RE/MAX, who was recommended, and she came and did a visit yesterday. So Sue is away for the weekend and will provide a written report next week, which we'll talk about in your meeting on the 8th. She believes that the property will sell better as a commercial venture. She said what I've said, I being Janet, that no one would buy such a big home for a big price surrounded by a mobile home park. She will ask the town about the zoning issues. We know it will be very expensive for us to maintain the property if we intend to rent it, plus the cost to upgrade the 1970s status. Okay, so it sounds like for next week you'll have a second proposal in writing from a second broker. So yeah. And while we're, where am I going? Go for it, Celeste.
How do you start rezoning, how do you start a rezoning process? I know they can be quite lengthy as far as getting it rezoned.
I think you should ask Sue that, from horse's mouth. My opinion, for what it's worth, looking at your GR4, so your residential, but your designation says that limited commercial use is allowed on a specific case basis. So I'm wondering how that will play into it. It could be easier because there's already limited commercial uses allowed in your district. But I think what we should either have the town come in to speak about that, or Sue come to report out on her conversations with the town. Does that sound okay to everyone?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Other questions on Du Bois or the other realtor?
On the other rail.
Now, come on down, sir. Unless you want to shout and I'll repeat it.
I was gonna shout.
Okay.
We also do need to consider finding out how, with Rock possibly, how that affects our financing.
So we had a conversation today with some of the lending options. I think what you should do is, and this is my recommendation, if you're already getting the membership together to make a judgment call on property management on the 15th, what we need to do is what does the membership want to do with that house? Because that's what is a directive for me and Pat when we're trying to talk to the lenders. They want to know, are you renting it, are you keeping it? If you're keeping it, it's gonna be used as collateral, right, for the lending. If you're splitting it off and selling it, you can stick it in your financing stack, and it can be used as a financing source, but not as collateral lending, because you're not obtaining the property. I guess what our request from the residents as a membership is, we need to get directed from the people, the board and membership, on what you want to do, and then we can go back to the lenders and say, this is what they want to do, how is that going to impact the lending? You know what I mean? I would say that it's a decision you need to make. All of these decisions are decisions that need to be made in the month of August. And all these other decisions are things that you need to have things in writing, apples to apples. So I would recommend get the second builder report back, let her know about commercial, and then line everything up so people can come and make an informed decision. Does that sound okay?
Anything to add, Tom?
No, that's it for that. I think, any questions or comments from anybody?
Can I just make a one,
I'm gonna go right here and then I'll come to you, sir.
If it were commercial, and we could rent out individual rooms for businesses, it could be a source of income.
I don't think we could rent that into a rooms for businesses. I think somebody would want the office, would want the whole thing in the barn, so they can store their whatever equipment they have, whatever they're doing for business. I understand what you're saying for an office. That means you have, that's a good idea, actually. I mean, I like the idea in theory, but we also have to remember that everything has to be redone in there.
That's all. Individual businesses that could rent out space there.
Possibly, but we have to we have to also rebuild the home to have that space. And I don't think we have money for that right now. We don't have anything in the bank. But I like your idea, actually. I didn't think of it that way before. but-
Excuse me, Nora. Excuse me, Tom. Janet wants her comment shared.
Now I'm gonna come to
Sure.
Okay, the board president asked to share. She said, regarding this particular section of the park, she said it would seem as though it would be grandfathered since the Scarponis used it as partial commercial use.
Yeah, I agree, but the only thing I think, because of what the zoning requirement is, it says limited commercial use, that may restrict on what type of business is going there. They'd have to get prior permission. But yes, it is gonna be great. It is gonna be a zone, it is zoned for commercial, partially.
So I have the zoning ordinance pulled up right now, and it actually has a whole chart that lists exactly what kinds of businesses are allowed, what kinds of zones. For GR4, it's listing things like daycare facilities, farm, plant nursery, urban architecture, golf course, neighborhood store. It's pretty limited. Parking, can't do parking. Renewable energy is a contingency. There's like 5 or 6 different charts here, so maybe we can assemble all that.
Also, of course, a business could appeal to the zoning board to change it so they could do their business. I'm not saying that right now, but they certainly have the option to do that.
These are already separate parcels, tax parcels, so we have to go through the whole survey and all that expensive, bringing them up to.
I think this is a good point, it ties with the survey. So, your attorney, Matt Simone, is doing the title review. I know you have opinions on that, because this is your background, which is great. So he's underway with that. It's very cumbersome, he's saying, because, yeah, we talked about that separately. He also recommended 2 different vendors for the boundary survey. One is Sebago Technics, and the other is VHB. Sebago came back with a proposal for $27,000, wicked expensive. But not surprising, because surveys these days are very expensive, and VHB is gonna come back, hopefully by the beginning of next week, and so the board is gonna have to pick. I think that we have some flexibility in your pre-development budget, because as of this time, you're gonna clock in. I had estimated you would spend $20,000 on environmental testing. All the signs at this time point to that's not gonna be the case. You're gonna spend something more in the range of like $2,000. So we have some wiggle room, because I had budgeted that we would spend between 18 and 20K on the survey. So I think we've got a wiggle room there, but let's see the other proposal for the boundary survey. They know that they're gonna have to maybe consider this scenario of a break-off, and they need to get on the way, because everything is time sensitive.
Next thing on the agenda is an academic timeline.
All right, so I'll write this up, but I'll hit this fast, just because I know we're short on time for tonight. So you, unbelievably, or maybe not unbelievably, are coming quickly to the decision in this process. So, I know, where did the summer go? I don't know. So in the next month, these meetings are critical, and getting membership up is critical, because a decision is gonna be made, right? So I would expect, and I'll write this out when I'm done talking, next week, you're gonna interview those 3 companies, or individuals. The week after, I think you need to take a vote on who you're gonna hire for property management, and ideally, if you have all the information lined up, what you wanna do with one office place. And then Pat and I have been targeting, really looking up at me from below, horrible angle. We're targeting, we think, as of this time, August 25th, potentially, for a vote to purchase. That's your birthday? We could do it the 24th. I think it needs to be a weekend, because it seems like we've got really good attendance on the weekends. And as of now, your deadline to tell Kurt whether or not you are going to finance this thing and buy is September 1st. And I think if we push it to Labor Day weekend, we're not gonna push it to Labor Day weekend. So I think that weekend, the 24th, 25th, is kind of the option. So between now and then, the board's gonna be working with CDI to put together a financing scenario, to recommend lending, and we'll work to put together a print packet that will walk through every component that will go out to all the households. What I would ask of the folks in attendance is encourage people, even if they can't make it to these meetings, to reach out to the board or to CDI to get firsthand information. I know there was a flyer that was going around, folks shared with me this week with some information in it, and I know it had my name and Janet's name on it, and I just think it's important. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, everyone's entitled to put it in writing and to spread it around. I think it's good that if you're putting out an opinion, you should put your name on it, you should tell people where it's coming from. And that flyer that went out did not come from myself, or from Janet, or from the cooperative, or from CDI. Some folks never even saw the flyers. Did anyone see a flyer going around? Yeah, so it seems like some people got it, some people didn't. At the end of the day, the goal is just people getting information and people being able to feel like they can participate. So I think that's going to be really crucial in the next month. Any thoughts on that? Questions, comments, concerns? I know it's a busy month.
I'd like to see a copy of that flyer.
Melissa would like to see a copy. Doug shared it with me, and Celeste shared it with me. It's out. Yeah, go for it. I'm sorry, you got it. I do think the audio's better this week, though, so at least there's that, and it's got a cord on it. I'm sorry, you took this from your seat.
I was wondering if there are any more from the people getting numbers.
As of this week, we have 145, so 52%. We really need to get to 207. We really need 75% participation. So we're closing in, we're about 60 short. So if you know your neighbor hasn't done one, or you haven't, please encourage them. What's that? Don't do a couple more. I mean, you wouldn't know, but yeah. Other thoughts from people?
And what happens if we don't get?
What happens if you don't get?
What are the numbers?
60%.
We really need to do another one. We need to send them back out, try and get them. It's a lender requirement.
It's a lender, yeah.
It's not CPI, I don't care what we're doing, you know? It's a percentage, it's 75% of the park.
And that's required by the lender.
The lender, yeah. Because it's really for them to have there's a lot of grant money in this deal. There's about, we hope about $4 million they wanna know, they wanna be able to go to the grant makers, you know, and say, this is the income profile of the community. In case the secret millionaires, it's never the secret millionaires, it's literally just, it's like a check box. Other comments, questions, concerns? Linda?
Website, oh, the website. Oh. Who wants the mic?
Anybody?
Chris wants the mic?
This is August 1st.
Yeah.
You said you had, what, September 1st is a drop dead day? So you have a month.
Yeah.
Should we have more than one meeting a week for the next 3 weeks or something? Until we get some absolutely, some things answered, dead, and put away with us, so we can focus on other things. What do you think?
I'll tell you what I think. I will
Nora
tell you
picked
if
up
I think
something
that's-
else.
At this time, I think we can boom, 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 my computer's dying, that's awesome. Oh, no, I'll talk about that,
Does that
yeah.
mean Janet's gone?
No,
No,
she's still here.
she's there.
Um,
We just can't see her.
So I'll tell you, if we need more than one meeting, I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure we can hit everything, so you don't need that, because you're not gonna get the attendance. I think the board is talking about putting out a print newsletter of some sort to try and reach people. Yeah, and I know a resident reached out to me, and she shared, just adding her voice to the chorus of it really, she feels strongly that the tiered rent structure should be maintained. So I just wanted to share that perspective into the recording and into the minutes, that opinion is really strong out there. And I know we talked about that last week, so just for the sake of just making sure that person's comments are raised up. Any other thoughts?
I just have one quick comment that we talked about. I just want to let people know that, in my work I do titles, and I got a request for a title search today for another park in the Brunswick area, and the lot rent is $800. So, you're doing pretty good here so far. I was kind of shocked at that, so, just my comment.
So before the meeting goes to open forum, I just wanted to ask the board, because the Du Bois engineers were on site.
You have something else.
Have something else?
Distribution of the board.
I'll talk about that to just the board, because it's gonna be on the agenda for next week. So Du Bois sent an invoice for $11,680. That's, they've completed 75% of the work. You have already voted to hire them for a total of $16,000, but I just, from a process standpoint, would ask that you approve the invoice for $11,680 and authorize Janet to sign it.
Motion approved.
Second, Chris, second.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? This is a
Motion to approve. Sorry, motion to approve, paying the invoice is done for
$11,680.
$11,680.
And seconded by Chris. Is there any discussion?
Second. You said,
Got it.
this said probably a Zoom next week.
We can't do it on Zoom, yeah, we have to do it.
Because I can't get Zoom every time you do it.
Yeah.
I get locked out.
I think we should plan on doing in person next week.
Yeah, we're not, this kind of Zoom meeting next week, or next, we decided to have it, since there's so many people coming.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, Dana.
We have
Is
the
there any
motion,
discussion on the motion?
Yeah.
All right, all in favor of the motion?
Chris did.
Anybody against?
Doesn't matter.
Nope, it doesn't matter.
I know.
So Ernie, if I could just grab the.
You can't vote twice, Chris.
So just to reiterate, because I know there was a comment that went right into the middle of the motion. So Ernie made the motion to approve the Du Bois and King invoice for $11,680. And who seconded it?
Chris Porter.
Chris Porter seconded it. And you have already taken a vote to hire them at $16,000. So this is just approving their invoice for 75% of the work that they've already completed.
Right.
All right, and then it sounds like the vote was already taken.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's it, if you're not doing the other thing.
Okay.
This 911 form, we're running late, I know, we're gonna be very late, but certainly, time for your resident, share your comments or questions right now. Anybody?
Nora, do you want me to do it?
Am I missing something?
No, I'm just
No.
gonna write the website.
Nor did I write on the website, so you start getting your information that she's talking about earlier tonight. No questions or comments? Oh, yes, there is, okay.
So bylaws, we ran out of time. We're gonna do them next week.
Next week.
Yeah, yeah.
We as the board haven't even talked about it yet at all.
Next week will be fun.
Anyone else?
Is there a question there or what?
Have you guys came back and shared the bathroom and park yet?
It appraised a little bit over 26.3 million. Yeah. So it's still being, it has to be signed off by the lenders, but it appraised over 26.3. I would say in between 26.3 and 27. Yeah, so, and as soon as it's finalized, we can kind of be more, you know, specific, you know.
Any other questions from anybody before we adjourn? If not, again, the next meeting will be on the stage at 6 p.m. and even though it's on Zoom and the agenda, we have a meeting right here. Because we have all the interview and it's not going to work out on Zoom. So it's better to see their face to face. Seeing no more questions, I'll accept the motion to adjourn. Motion second, all in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming, and please talk to your neighbors.